Welcome everybody to the long-awaited ELEV8 podcast. Thank you guys for joining, watching, listening. My name is Danny. This is my co-host George. Today we want to go over how we came about starting this podcast and kind of an idea of what you guys are going to get, what you guys are going to hear, who we're going to have on, things like that. So, George, what made you want to start this podcast? What kind of gave you that, okay, let's do this?
Yeah, before I answer that, let's go ahead and start with there are no sponsors. I guess what we want to say. Like, subscribe, share. It's that simple. If you learn something from this, if you hear something that intrigues you, something that can you take away from this, anything you take away, please share, subscribe, and like. Help us out with those algorithms. So now, why did we decide to go ahead and start this? So we've been here 9 years with ELEV8. People have always wanted to talk now with social media, and even more so now that after COVID, a lot of the clients that I have had been asking me, "Hey, George, start a podcast, because I used to have this class called, well, we used to have a class, Lindsay, and I used to have a class called Mind and Mobility, and I would talk about, how to help people out from the mental side for the athletic purpose, and also not only on the field but also off the field. And so, there was a lot of chirp about podcast, and then so it's only Lindsay and I, so redoing the lab and everything else and training and everything else, we just never got around to it. So then it was last summer that we had quite a few college athletes in here, and they're all like, "Man, George," because I would talk after the speed camp, the speed clinic in the mornings, and I would talk to them, and they're like, "George, you need to start a podcast." Like everybody was saying, start a podcast. So again, there was demand for it. And so what ends up happening is you get into the grind of the lab and you just don't pick your head up. I mean, you're doing your stuff, the lab stuff, again, there's only two of us. So Lindsay and myself. So we tried our best to do what we could, and we just never got around to it, to be honest. And then, so you and I were talking one day, then we got into conversations about Bitcoin and Satoshi and everything else under the blockchain, if you will. You're like, "Man, dude, hey, we're here every day. Let's start the podcast. We're talking about this stuff. We can just talk about it on the podcast. It's valuable information that people can actually take with them." And I was like, "Yeah, well, set it up. Get Papi Bezos to send us the shit.
Real quick.
Yeah. So that's how this podcast came about. Lindsay and I had spoken about it many times. We just didn't have really the time to do it. And then to find the engineer, like the Axeman, we didn't have access to anybody, something like that. So then to someone that actually knew what they were doing. So then, when you said, "Yeah, I got it. I know how to do this. I know how to do that." Okay, well then do it. Let's do it. Let's get it ordered. Let's get the things ordered. Whatever we need, let's do it. So, ELEV8 podcast was born. Just like that. It was just like that. It's been talked about for, I would say, heavily for the last 5 years. And then after COVID, last 3 years, it had legs and it was moving. It's just, was that important for us right now? It wasn't at that time. But then you came around and you're like, "Yeah, I know how to do all this stuff. Okay, let's do it then." And then, you had the Axeman coming in, and the Axeman knew how to do what we're talking about.
Everything. I mean, he's a big part in this. Why do you think that people suggested that you started a podcast so much? What kind of value do they want for you to provide? You said you talked to them a lot. I know I kind of experienced that. I really did experience that when I would stay here in the lab after my workouts, and we talk about so much. I mean, you have so much wisdom and experience to share with others So what value do you plan on providing for the audience?
Well, basically, it's going to be real life situations. You know, it's going to be real AF. That's kind of how I operate. Just call it the way it is. There's no gray to it. It's just black and white. It hits people the wrong way sometimes. It is what it is, but we keep it real. I'd rather tell you, hey, Danny, you know what? Your lift is XYZ, and you get upset with me and you do it right, that it helps you long term. So when we had the mind mobility class with Linda, this girl Linda, we had that class, and so I would ask the students, hey, what do you want to talk about today? I don't know what their summers was looking like, or during their classes. I don't know what that day was like for them. And they would say, oh, let's talk about bullying. Well, let's do it. Let's talk about it. So I would go into bullying. Whatever the topic was, I would talk to them about it. Now, last summer, like I was saying, after every summer speak class, I would talk to them just about life. You know, something so simple like, if you're going to change the world, you're going to have to learn how to swim with sharks, because they're everywhere. And so get used to it. Make it comfortable. Make it comfortable that you swimming with sharks, you're comfortable, because that's the only way you're going to change this life. Change the world. Change your life. Change your parents' life. That's the only way. It's the only way. You know, a lot of people, as you know, you've seen some of the athletes come and go, and some of the athletes are out of college sports, whatever. Excuse me. You've seen them. They come and go. You're like, what happened to this guy? Oh, gone. Gone. Why? They're not dedicated. And it's another, I'll give you a perfect example. Everybody, and I'm going to stick with baseball. Everybody wants that baseball scholarship. Everybody, until you got to get up at 5, be in the weight room at 5:30, train till 7, go home, go to the dorm, get your shower, go eat breakfast, have class from 8 to 12, right? 8 to 12. Then at 12, after 12, go eat your lunch, and you got to be on the practice field at 2. And then you're practicing from 2 to 6. Then at 6, you got to hurry up and go eat at the cafeteria. The cafeteria closed at 7. But at 7, you have to be in the library for mandatory, study hall. Mm-hmm. From 7 to 9, Sunday through Thursday. On the surface of it, everybody says, oh, yeah, I want to do that. I want to do that. I want to play college ball. At the end of the day, no. Once they get in there, I've seen it. I've seen studs, all staters, in their appropriate states. Just coach send them home.
I want to go back to when you mentioned that we were going to keep this real AF, and you just did right now talking about, a quick view at what an athlete's day in the life is. Starts at 5 a.m, doesn't end until 12 a.m. And you have to get up the next day and do the same thing
every day,
and it gets real tough. So I like that you wanna do that with this podcast, to share, especially with the guests that we're gonna have on who already have had that experience, which will help the audience kind of get a grasp of what's to come. Because like you said, everybody wants that scholarship, and everybody says that they will do the work until the time comes.
Sure. And it's even and let's go through the divisions of like sports: NAIA, Division 3, Division 2, Division 1, and JUCO. Let me tell you something. Everybody kind of snides at JUCO, but let me tell you, man, just go to any national championship in JUCO. Every player there could probably play pro ball. It's just, once you get to that level, it's whomever's doing the detail work are the ones that are there. While everybody else is messing around, going out, partying, doing that, and they're in the weight room, those are the ones. They're hitting at night. They're taking the extra. They're doing the little bit of extra work. Those are the guys that are going next level. Because everybody has the same talent in college. I don't care if it's D1 or NAIA. Those guys, your teammates, they all have the same talent as you. That's why y'all are there. It's who does more. And it's not about working hard. It's about working smarter. So that's one of the things that we're going to be talking about, recovery, rinse, repeat, strength training. We're going to talk about it all. Bitcoin, investing. Like, everybody here just waiting for mommy and daddy to take over their business. Really? Like, be proud of yourself because you created something that you have a passion for. Take the hard road. And it's something simple as, if you take the easy road now, guess what's going to happen? You're going to have the hard life. You take the hard life at the beginning, you're going to have an easy life at the end. So, the choice is yours. Everybody will approach that why in the road. Depends which way you go.
Kobe Bryant said it best, man. Rest in peace. On the Patrick Bet David show that I was watching today. He says, the weight of discipline weighs ounces, and the weight of regret weighs tons.
Sure, absolutely. Why you want to regret something? That's why I always tell the guys, and we'll be talking about those things, talk about that part. And that's a great quote by KB. That dude was a savage. Guys would try to beat him on the court, on the Olympic team, and he knew they were trying to beat him, so he would, if it was 4:00 in the morning, he'd show up at 3:15. They show up at 3:15, he'd show up at 3.
Greatest of all time for me.
Yeah, he'd sleep 4 hours. He goes, I'll sleep when I'm dead. Rest in peace, KB. But yeah, he would say that. I'll rest when I'm dead. And look, the dude was savage. But yeah, so like Glover, one of the things those elite athletes have, and we're going to talk about all these things, characteristics, traits of elite athletes, and those are the ones that are able to execute. Okay, that's the biggest thing. You'll hear a lot of people talk a lot, especially high school. They'll be saying, "Oh yeah, I can do that. I can do," but don't tell me what you can do. Show me. I know guys right now that have been in here that have ran high school track, have played college ball, baseball, basketball, soccer, college basketball. We've had soccer players come through here. They went to Argentina and Brazil to go play. We've had basketball players come through here, went to the Italian Pro League, play basketball. So it's not something that's like, it can't be done. It's been done. So, excuse me, a lot of what we do, Danny, has already been battle tested around the world. And that's obviously, the training that Lindsay has had, etc. We know what works. We know what doesn't. Now, the podcast, we're going to talk about it all from A to Z.
Yeah.
And that's what's going to make this different, because we're going to have those high school athletes on here. We're going to have those college athletes, those pro athletes that have gone through the lab and have done something with their lives.
So you guys are about to hit your 9-year anniversary.
That's correct.
Anniversary. And so you guys have already provided the physical aspect of life.
Right.
And now with this podcast, you're going to provide the mental side.
Correct.
We're talking about all these great athletes.
Right.
At the highest level, college, high school, college, even pro, everybody's just as athletic, tall, strong, fast. It's all about the same. What separates the good from great is that mental edge. And that's what we're going to provide here, having those athletes and those people who have unlocked that mental edge and have had the experience and share it with you guys.
Yeah, exactly. So what we're going to provide is exactly what you said, and we'll go into detail into a lot of that, how to become the best version of yourself. Some people don't want to go play college, but they want to be good at high school athletes, and we'll be providing that for them. How do you get there? Understanding that what you put into it is what you're going to get out. And you got to go. You got to go. You got to go. When that green light goes, you got to pop smoke and go. And that's what we'll be talking about. A lot of that, we're going to have some interviews of some high profile people and some people that been in baseball for, over 50 years. We'll talk to some people that have, went to war, guys that, got shot on duty. We're going to talk to all those people.
The whole nine.
Yeah. So we're going to talk, it's from A to Z, athletes, non-athletes, current events,
Business,
etc. Business,
life,
it doesn't matter. Investing.
mind,
Yeah,
everything.
investing is something really, really big just because, you see these, just go to the H-E-B. You'll see, people wearing like, on cloud shoes that they were bought at the local department store here for like $200,
Local department store.
Yeah,
At the Carnival shoe store, whatever.
Yeah. So, how, that's, those are $200 pair of shoes. They're just like sports. What do they call it? Athletic wear, or what is it? Sports wear, whatever they call it. They'll be wearing the Gucci belt, the LV, the Coach baggies, the whole
Muhammad
nine.
Ali shirt.
Yeah. And they're sporting those, Dior sunglasses, cruising around Camaros all over town and shit,
Well, not anymore.
Well, you know what I mean. Mustangs, whatever, man. But you know what I'm talking about. So what we're going to do on this podcast, we're going to talk about it all, and we're going to keep it real. We're going to keep it real.
AF.
Real. And so stay tuned to everything we're talking about, and then some. We're going to get everybody on here that we can.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to record, and we're going to, if you get some value out of it, if you like the content, if you like what we're doing, like it, subscribe, and share it. We're not asking you to, join some type of, $1 fee. We're not charging anything.
Completely free.
Yeah, it's free.
Why not?
But if you get value out of what we're talking about, definitely